Welcome back. We've got another show for you, and I got a guest star for you today. This is Kat. She is my photographer. She goes by Calico Photography. You'll see her hashtagged on my Instagram all the time. She's the one who takes the good pictures of me. Um, she's amazing. Tell her so that she knows, by the way. Go find her and let her know. So, the show we're going to do today is going to be about some of the shittier experiences. So, like I said, I've been cross-dressing now for about maybe 8 months, I guess. And definitely had some good run-ins and some bad run-ins when shopping. So, I guess the first one we're going to mention, that's probably the one that stuck out the most, which was really kind of annoying, was we walk in together to a store called Maurices, and if you watched my previous video, I mentioned this briefly in there. Basically, it's a plus size clothing store for women. And we walked in, and we were looking around, and within, I don't know, 2 minutes, some lady walks up to us, asking us if we were aware of the sales, and they're directing most of their comments towards her, as I'm not dressed like this, which at first is perfectly reasonable. As I try to start taking the lead on the conversation, and she continues to address my girlfriend, I'm like, so am I not making it clear, or are you trying to offer some stealth or something, I guess? I don't know. But I was like, do you have this over here, the shirt that was on the mannequin I had gotten, and then I was looking for the cover-up that was with it. I was like, and whatever size you think I am, trying to make the point. I knew damn well what size I was, but I wanted to make sure that she kind of knew that I was the one shopping. Well, she didn't take the hint, either that or she just wasn't willing to believe it. Now, keep in mind, I live in East Tennessee, and folks around here are very Bible Belt, and they're not really a big fan of cross-dressers and stuff like that, as far as I can tell, at least. So, we get up to the counter, and even though I'm constantly giving my information, she keeps addressing Kat.
Well, then once we kind of made it clear that it wasn't for me, she started assuming that it was a gift for a woman.
Yeah.
She was like, so does the person that you're buying for have an account with us? And he's like, no. And the whole conversation was like that. She was like, well, what's her phone number? Not talking about me, but talking about this woman we're getting a gift for. Well, what's her phone number? What's her email? What's her date of birth? Like, she just she refused to acknowledge that it was for him and it wasn't for a woman.
Mm-hmm. So.
But I actually called back and I was like, can I speak to the store manager? And I told her about the experience, and she was like, that is so horrible. And she was like, do you have, like, the cashier number? And I told her it was her. Like, I was complaining to the store manager, and the store manager was the one that checked us out. So we haven't been back in there. And she was like, oh, well, I would love for you guys to come back in, and I'll personally help you pick out things. And I'm like, no. It was just a bad experience.
Yeah, so the next one that we were going to mention was my first trip to Ulta. Now, when I first started doing this, Kat was a wonderful help. She loaned me all of her makeup and stuff like that, but she and I don't have the exact same complexion, although right now I'm doing a bit of a goth thing, so I'm using a really pale one. But anyways.
And I didn't have a lot. I had, like, this much makeup.
Yeah, so, well, we go into Ulta because I needed foundation. I had no idea. I mean, think about it. If you don't know anything about makeup, walk into an Ulta and be looking at foundation and be like, there's like 400 colors here. I don't know what brands, what color. I don't know what the hell to do. So I asked somebody. I asked the lady in there. And I got a similar response. Not quite to the same degree. But she just kind of seemed a little bit put off. Now, I have heard since then that if you're not going in there wearing a bunch of makeup, they don't take you seriously.
Well, not the one here. I mean, I don't know if Ulta in general is like that. But yeah, the one here, everyone says if you're not going in there with a full face of makeup, they don't take you seriously, and they don't try to help you as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the one, like, when he was like, oh, it's for me, she was kind of like, oh, well, and it really threw her off. So that, to me, means that they're not really, I don't know, they're not geared towards that demographic. I don't know.
Didn't seem like this particular one was, at least. So,
Yeah.
as a result, she kind of half-assed it and pointed me at a product. She did a dab on my neck, and that was about it. And I was like, well, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more information here. I was kind of hoping for a bit of an education on it, really, but okay, you know, I mean, I guess that part's not really her job, though. That's something that would have been really helpful. So,
Well, no, I think that kind of is their job. I don't...
Well, I mean, I can't expect them to
If
sit
they're
there and teach me everything.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, if they're consultants, though, they're supposed to kind of lead you in the right direction. This is just not working. The whole video is going to be like this. Okay. Yeah. But, so now we spend all our money at Sephora.
Yeah.
They're a lot more helpful.
Yeah.
So.
They don't have any of the cheaper stuff, but that just means that I end up with, if you've ever watched me doing any of my makeup tutorial things or the time lapse, and I'm always reaching off to my left here, it's because that's where I've got, like, the entire freaking planet. I have basically a Sephora down there. I mean, I had to get a special rack just for it. It was pretty bad. So, yeah, so Ulta kind of lost out on a lot of our business just from one employee being kind of half-assed about not taking somebody serious. So I walked into the Sephora and asked the lady in there, and she was like, oh, well, let me go get your tones, and did the little machine on me and all that, and found out my colors, and asked me a dozen questions, you know, what kind of coverage do you want, and do you know what kind of brands you want? And,
She was great that first
oh,
girl.
yeah, she was really good. I went back in there, I don't know, a month later. It took me a while to get a hold of her, but I went back in there like a month later to talk to her and show her the pictures of what all I had been doing, because, I mean, I buy all the stuff and then I go home, I put it all on, I do a nice little photo shoot, I have her edit some awesome photos for me, and then I start posting them online and showing them to people that I think would be interested. So I do still go to Ulta, just not nearly as much as I would have otherwise because of that.
Sometimes the bank makes you go to Ulta.
Yeah, sometimes the bank makes me go to Ulta. Not
But
as
if
much
people start
initially.
sending free stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely always okay with that. Alright, so next point I was just going to bring up was, this is all stuff that I've done, like, in person, in my regular person, the way that I look when I'm usually starting a video. I think this is the first time I've put out a video where I'm actually already in drag, dress, costume, whatever you want to call it. I call it in costume sometimes just because it's easier for me. So, but that's going to be a whole another issue too, is, you know, if you're willing to go out like this, because when we do go out, I mean, we walk in, I Google before I walk in, what's my size at fill in the blank store. Like, if I go to, first time I went to Charlotte Russe, I was like, what's my size at Charlotte Russe? And it brings up a table, and it tells me, you know, if, based off of these measurements, and I knew what my measurements were. I actually took my measurements with a tape measure while I was at work one day. And I wrote them down on my phone, so every time I went to a store, I knew exactly what my measurements were, and I just used the table at each store to find out what size I needed to be shopping for. But because I'd just be going looking like a regular dude, it was one thing for me to just be looking at the clothes, picking them up, and checking them out and stuff like that. If nothing else, keep in mind, Bible Belt, if nothing else, to avoid getting jumped as soon as I walked out of the store, I could always pawn this kind of a behavior off on the idea that I'm helping her shop type of a thing. Whereas I'm really shopping more for myself. Now, some of the people at the stores started to recognize that I'm shopping for me, and most of them are usually pretty cool about it. That's one reason why I go to Charlotte Russe so much, is just because the ladies there have always been cool. I've still never had the balls to actually get a dressing room and try anything on.
I have to do that because, unfortunately, we're the same size. I say unfortunately because it makes me feel bad. But, yeah, so we're kind of the same size. So I go try something on, and then if it fits me, we know that it kind of fits him. So.
Yeah. We're not quite the same size. We got a couple of differences, but overall we can usually base one off of the other enough to be able to figure that out. So, but that kind of brings me to another store that we went to. We went down to Cordele in South Georgia, south of Atlanta. We went to a store there called It's Fashion Metro. I had never heard of it before, and we were just kind of strolling around. Again, I was just in regular dude form. And we walk in the door, and within about 10 seconds, I realized
every single employee, and customer, turned around, and they were just looking at us.
Yeah, I felt really uncomfortable. I really liked the clothes. That was the thing. So, we did a circuit around the store, but we didn't dare, try anything on. I didn't even end up buying anything. Sorry, there's a cat over here. I didn't even end up buying anything because I was pretty sure that I was going to get jumped when I walked out of here because, there was other dudes in the store, but they were obviously just there waiting for their women to get done, and they were, glaring at me, and I was like...
It's just not something that they're used to down there. I mean, we came from Savannah, which is...
You've got SCAD, so the art college.
And Club One, so, people are kind of used to it, but where I'm
Shout out to Club One.
Yeah, people, it's just not something... I don't even know if people are really openly gay there a lot. I mean, I know there's a few, but they're just not used to it at all.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, there was several gay bars in Florida where I was living, but I wasn't really into the scene yet. It wasn't until I moved to Savannah and I started going to Club One, and I started seeing all the drag queens, and my favorite by far has always been Destiny Michaels. Blair Williams is a close second. But I got kind of used to all of that and was always just thoroughly amazed by the transformation because I'd see them on Facebook or on YouTube or something during the daytime when they're not in drag, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Which, I know, we weren't planning on talking about this, but I haven't been to Club One, so I don't know. But the gay bar that we go to here to see the drag shows, there's been a few drag queens that have been a little helpful, but, some of them just pure out are not. So, that's another thing maybe for another video. And
I don't know, because this is kind of the bad experiences one. I was just getting into this, and I wanted someone who could give me some help, because there are certain things that work for women that do not work for men. There are certain things that she's just not going to know about. And I wanted someone to kind of give me a hand, where I didn't want just YouTube videos where they're like, if you've got this kind of a face, you do this. If you got that kind of face, I didn't want that. What I needed was someone to take a look at me and say, no, you're doing your contour wrong. Your face is actually more like this shape. You need to be doing this, this, and this. That's what I was looking for. I was like, where better to start than to go to the drag show and try to make friends with some of the drag queens, and hopefully somebody will be willing to kind of give me some pointers. So I'd go in costume with the best that I can do, and I'd hope for the best, and I'd be shelling out as much money as I could afford to give them, to try and get some attention, and hopefully when I find them on Facebook, they'd recognize me or something like that. And I completely got blown off and ignored and snubbed by one of them at least, and I didn't really understand that that's what was happening at first. I thought that she was just kind of annoyed that I'd been up there multiple times and was like, just give me the money all at once or something like that instead of making me come back for it. I don't know, but the next day though, she had posted something about
when that new drag queen tries to come for you or something.
Yeah, and I was like, bitch, I ain't trying to fucking come for you. I'm hoping maybe you'll give me some fucking help. I'm like, shit. Anybody, okay, so when I started doing this, I started sending pictures to everybody that I've known for forever, and a couple of them surprised me, and I had one dude that I used to work with ages ago texted me out of the blue and was telling me about some stuff that was going on, and he was like, so what are you up to? And I was like, well, I do this now. And he was like, no shit. He was like, that's pretty cool. And turned out he was kind of interested in it too, so I gave him any advice that I could, because I'm trying to be fucking helpful, so that the more of us there are, the more visible we're going to be. The more visible we are, the more used to us people get.
But I think that they are,
see it
at
as a
least the
threat.
ones here, yeah, it's a threat. It's like really cutthroat, and they're like, oh, well, you're here to take my money or move me
Yeah.
out of my spot, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's
I
here.
ain't even trying to perform.
Yeah.
I just want to be better at looking like a girl. So, I don't know. But, one thing that I've definitely found when going out and if I'm shopping is having a partner. Namely, a female one. It really kind of goes a long way for it. I mean, we can walk around JCPenney all day long and talk about clothes, check out their clearance, and hold stuff up, and she can go try stuff on if we want. It makes it a lot easier. So if there's anybody that you can come up with that you can get to tag along even, just the only thing that makes it difficult is when you're trying to look at one set of stuff and they're like, oh, I'm going to wander off and go check out this. And you're like, bitch, you're supposed to be my beard right now. Where the fuck you at? Now they just see me over here looking through panties and they just think, hey, almost 40-year-old dude over there staring at panties. He's fucking weird. I'm like, no, I'm just, well, okay, maybe I am. I don't know. Well, so yeah, having a partner can really make all the difference. So if you get an opportunity or if you find someone, I mean, if you can fucking bribe somebody, get on Facebook and find a local group. Like, we're on one here. I can never remember the damn name. I always call it Eyes Only, but it's
Easy on the eyes.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really helpful. They're focused on makeup and stuff like that and being uplifting about it and not shaming each other for it. In fact, they kick people out of the group when they're on there bullying somebody or telling them all sorts of nasty stuff and whatnot. You know, so I kind of like that because I can post my pictures in there and nobody's like, why the fuck are you on here? You're a dude. And I'm like, yeah, but I look hotter than some of you bitches. So
He's a very catty girl.
I can be. I've got like 3 personalities when I'm in drag, and all
Well,
3 of them are.
When there's like certain genres that he goes towards, it's either 14-year-old, like
angsty teenager.
Yeah, or
At Hot Topic. I shop a lot at Hot Topic.
Yeah, or like grandmother. Some things I'm just like, put that back. Not gonna happen.
Yeah, well, some of it I think, or like even if I think it might just be like, oh, it looks kind of country, and she's like, no, that looks like my grandma would be wearing it, and I'm like, oh.
Literally,
okay.
she has it in her closet.
Well,
What's the
and
third
then
one? Like just
Turbo
like,
Slut.
Yeah, hoochie.
Hoochie. Especially if you've seen the photo shoot that I did with the little cut off jeans with the laces on the side. That was sexy. I liked that. I turned my damn self on with that. Alright, so let's see.
Oh, and about the club too. Like it's really when we go to the show, the drag show, if he's in costume, if we're hungry afterwards, we have to go through the drive-thru. Yeah, and if he's not, then we can go to like IHOP or Waffle House or whatever. And that's the difference here too. Like he really only does the drag to go to the drag show because that's the only place where it's acceptable here.
At least
like,
out. I mean,
yeah,
I
like
do it
it's
here all the time.
Yeah,
but.
it's just not acceptable anywhere else here, and I would just really hate to think, like, I can imagine how bad it would be if we did go to one of those places after the drag show in drag. I feel like no one would understand, and it would just be a really bad experience. So that's what kind of sucks about where we live.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when you're literally considering moving clear across the country just to find acceptance.
Yeah.
Just because you're a fucking cross-dresser. I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous. And, well, it's just something that we gotta deal with, I guess. But that's one reason why I want us to be more visible, so that people get more used to us. You know, if there's something that's considered to be taboo and people are weirded out by it or something like that. Like, the LGBT community in general has been for a long time, and now some of them are starting to gain some acceptance. I would say anything transgender, transvestite is probably one of the last ones to sort of get any acceptance so far. And I mean, there's just a lot of hate out there, and it can be scary because I can deal with getting looks. I can deal perfectly with being called all sorts of names. I don't give a shit about that. What I have a problem with is if I get pulled over or something for a speed trap, or, I mean, just a drunk driving trap or whatever, like a roadblock or something like that, and they see me, and next thing I know, they're having me searched and trying to find some kind of excuse just because they're fucking hateful. Worse yet is when you're dealing with the kind of people where they're not going to stop at calling you names. They're going to fight you, or they're going to shoot you, or they're going to tie you to the back of their truck and drag you downtown. I mean, these are the kind of fucked up people that are out here, and this is the kind of shit that they think is okay. And so, if it wasn't for that small group of people who would do shit like that, I'd be perfectly fine with going out there, even though now and then I'd get called some names or whatever, but it just ain't fucking worth taking all that kind of risk. And even if I'm in my regular clothes and somebody tried to do something like that, and I pulled a weapon out and did something, I've got a chance of, it's self-defense. I can damn near guarantee that a jury of my peers from around here is not going to see it that way if I was in drag at the time. They going to think something else, and they just going to send my ass to prison. So it's like you don't even get the right to defend yourself at that point, and you can't even count on the law to defend it, to help defend you, because half of them are just as bad. So, and it's because of the area that we live in, and it wasn't too much different down in Georgia. The only difference there was that because the main area that everybody went downtown to go drinking was right beside Club 1, so everybody was used to seeing the drag queens down there standing outside smoking. So that was fine, but, like, I don't think I would have gone shopping in full drag down there, especially having been there for so long and knowing so many people in town. But some of the friendly places, though, that you can go, I posted, or I mentioned in my last video, sisterhouse.net was a really good place. They had a long list of places that you can shop that are LGBT friendly. And one thing that I had read about too the other day was, as a guy, you still need to get sized for a bra properly. Go to Victoria's Secret. Set up an appointment ahead of time. Call them up ahead of time if you have to. I've never done this one particularly myself. I just went off of my own measurements. I didn't know that I could do this until after I'd already bought several and figured out what my size was. Plus, I buy breast forms, so I change my cup size anytime I want. So, but yeah, there's lots of stores out there that are going to be friendly. There's going to be lots of places that are not going to be so friendly. So you just got to kind of wing it and start to build up an idea of where you can and can't go. Decide how much risk you're willing to take and whether or not you're willing to be all the way out about it. I don't feel that it's safe for me to be entirely out where I live, so I don't. I'm out with anybody that I know personally, but if I only know them at work, then I'll know. So, maybe if I moved to California, it'd be a different story. But, you got anything else you want to add? Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode then, and come follow me on Instagram, and I am Amber Sinclair 69. She is Calico Photography. Check us both out. Tell her how awesome.
But don't spell it like Calico, because that's a whole nother video.
Think of Kale Co.
Yeah.
Kaleco Photography. Yeah. Also, like and subscribe to my channel, and if you got something to say, leave it in the comments. Let me know. Y'all have a good day.